Indeed he is risen.
At that time, Joseph of Arimathea, a respected member of the council, who was also himself looking for the kingdom of God, took courage and went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. And Pilate wondered if he were already dead. And summoning the centurion, he asked him whether Jesus was already dead. And when he learned from the centurion that he was dead, he granted the body to Joseph. And he brought a linen shroud, and taking him down, wrapped him in a linen shroud, and laid him in the tomb, which he had hewn out of the rock. And he rolled the stone against the door of the tomb. Mary Magdalene and Mary the mother of Joseph saw where he was laid. And when the Sabbath was past, Mary Magdalene and Mary the mother of James and Salome brought spices so that they might go and anoint him. And very early in the morning on the first day of the week, they came to the tomb at the rising of the sun, and they were saying to one another, "Who will roll away the stone for us from the door of the tomb?" And looking up, they saw that the stone was rolled back. It was very large. And entering the tomb, they saw a young man sitting on the right side, dressed in a white robe, and they were amazed. And he said to them, "Do not be amazed. You seek Jesus of Nazareth, who was crucified. He has risen. He is not here. See the place where they laid him. But go tell his disciples and Peter that he is going before you into Galilee. There you will see him, as he told you." And they went out quickly and fled from the tomb, for trembling and astonishment had come upon them. And they said nothing to anyone, for they were afraid.
Glory to you, Lord. Glory to you. Christ is risen from the dead. By death he conquered death, and rose in the tomb. He restored life.
Eternal life. Christ is risen from the dead, trampling down death by death, and to those in the tomb bestowing life. Christos voskreσε εις μετρήρους, μετρήρους nepokrav, Iisus živorovi, živorovi.
Please be seated. Christ is risen.
He is risen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Today, we celebrate many occasions today. Many saints have their feast today. And we remember some very important events. Today, of course, is Mother's Day. It is often said that a mother's love knows no bounds. I remember when my grandmother had told me a story, and of course, she remembers when they were in Greece and everything, she remembers the gypsies. And if you don't know the gypsies were kind of a wandering band of nomadic people that had no allegiance to pretty much anybody. And they're usually known as thieves and things like that. And one day, this particular gypsy son, and of course this is a story, but the heart of it is what I'm trying to get to it. A gypsy son goes and kills his mother, cuts out her heart. And as he's walking away with his mother's heart, he falls to the ground, and the heart cries out, "My son, I hope you are okay." Even after she had died, the heart of the mother had asked if the boy was okay after he had fallen. A mother's love knows no bounds. Of course, today, we're seeing much of a shift in that paradigm. We're seeing much of a shift in what we once believed is now becoming something that's upside down. Today, we celebrate the myrrh-bearing women that go to the tomb. These myrrh-bearing women had loved Christ so much that they didn't even know how they were going to roll back the stone, but they were going to the tomb anyway. The stone was massive, but they in their mind said, we're going, somehow God is going to provide. And when they got there, the stone had been already rolled away. Jesus didn't need it to be rolled away. Jesus now could go anywhere he wanted. As we read from last week's gospel, Jesus just appeared, almost like a teleportation into a locked room. But Jesus had the stone rolled away, right? God had the stone rolled away, so that way the people who witnessed that would believe. And these women went, and they found the stone had been rolled away. Can you imagine how much of their heart had then been rolled away as well? And when they saw that Jesus wasn't there, the angel says to them, why are you looking for somebody that's dead who is now alive again? And go back and tell the disciples and Peter, right? It's specific, and Peter, that he has rose again. Because if you remember, right, Peter had denied Jesus 3 times. And he was probably thinking to himself, I'm not even worth the time of day for my Lord to even look at me. But God, in his infinite wisdom, made sure that the message was sent to all the disciples and Peter because of the love that he had for his disciples. And then you have Joseph of Arimathea, who, with courage, it says, goes to Pilate and asks for the body of Jesus. Can you imagine this Pharisee, this guy, terrified more than likely, first of all, going before the Roman governor. Second of all, if any of his fellow Pharisees and Sadducees, the Sanhedrin, would have found out, right? That's why Nicodemus goes and meets with Jesus in the night. They were afraid of the repercussions. But Joseph of Arimathea, he says to himself, I don't care. The love I have for God was more than my love for myself. And he goes to Pilate and asks. And can you imagine? Just put yourself, I know that not all of us are mothers, but can you put yourself in the shoes of the Mother of God? Even though in her mind she had heard she had the miraculous conception, but still that mother looking at her son being whipped, being beaten, being spit upon, being scourged. Can you imagine what that particular mother was thinking? And today we also celebrate St. John the Theologian. Can you imagine that day the only one of the disciples that had courage enough to go before the crucifixion was John, who was standing there with Jesus, with Mary, the mother of Jesus. And Jesus's, one of his final statements was his concern for his mother. Woman, he tells his mother, behold your son. Son, behold your mother. That was one of his final statements as he hung on the cross. Was his concern that somebody was going to take care of his mother. Now, as I said earlier, the things have changed. The paradigm has shifted. Because now, as we have seen in the news, we have seen that there are many people, mothers, who are now fighting to murder their own children in the womb. This battle over abortion is not an accident. This battle of abortion and seeing how cold the mothers' hearts have gotten. I seen a woman with her t-shirt that said, I've had 21 abortions. How on earth can anyone who proclaims to be a mother and that has a mother can understand that she has killed 21 lives? So, in turn, how can we now say that the mother's love knows no bounds? Now we in our minds, we need to go forward, and we need to now understand what St. John wrote in his universal letters about the unbound love of God the Father. If we start to understand the mother's love, we must continue to expand our understanding of love until it gets to the point where we understand the Father's love. Because Jesus says, if you love me, you will follow the commandments, and if you follow the commandments, you will love my Father. That's what John writes in his letters. To love people and to love yourself. Again, Jesus' words, love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength. Every fiber of your being, we're supposed to learn how to love one another. And if we start to learn how to love one another, we start to understand what it means to have the Father's love. But somehow, through society, through time, our churches, and I'm putting the sole blame on the churches, our churches have failed to teach people what it means to love. Because oftentimes, a lot of the priests, a lot of the bishops, a lot of those people that are serving the churches, they don't even have a heart for God, but they have a heart for the paycheck. And I know that. When I went to seminary 20-some years ago, my spiritual father told me these words. When you go to school, remember that there are some people that go because they want the Mercedes. They want the big paycheck. They want the power and they want the status. Very few people go for the love of God. Very few people. I couldn't conceive that. How could anybody spend 7 years of their life just for a paycheck? Just for a Mercedes? But now I'm starting to understand. Now I'm starting to see the truth and the wisdom of what he said. I had seen a documentary about how a lot of these Christian singers, these people that do contemporary Christian music, many of them have washed out in the music scene, but because they know that they can make money in the contemporary Christian music scene, have now become contemporary Christian artists, and they don't even believe in God. Some of them are even atheists. But because they're able to have somebody write these songs, and they're able to belt out the music, they're able to make the money and bring in the page. How cold have the hearts become? Last week, we were studying, the last couple weeks in our Bible study, we started in Genesis. We have been reading about, the last couple weeks, Noah. Noah was the only innocent and pure person that God found. The only people. And because of that, his wife and his children and the sons' wives were spared. But God looks upon the earth and says, I see that everybody's minds are on evil continually. Everybody. There wasn't one person that their mind was not on something evil. And God says, I'm going to try and I'm going to save everybody once again. Through Noah. Through the holiness and the purity and the innocence of one man. And then the waters come, they washed away. Now can you imagine? Can you put in yourself in that situation where you see some old crazy guy building a boat in the middle of dry land? Wood's coming. They're going out getting wood. This guy's building this massive boat. An ark. This guy and his family are building something that doesn't make sense. And can you imagine the ridicule? The people making fun of them? The people laughing at Noah? Can you imagine it? And then all the animals coming. Few people maybe are saying, maybe there's something to this. And then as the animals are boarding, and as everything is happening, and then the door gets closed. Noah and his family don't close the door. God's hand closes the door. And can you imagine for that brief instance when the first drop of rain comes? And then the second, and then the third, and then finally the deluge coming down upon the earth. How many people were beating on the ark saying, please let us in and have mercy on me. Please, we've heard your message. Please let us in. Noah didn't build that boat in just one day. It took him a long period of time to build that boat. And people were watching. And people were witnessing. And I guarantee you those people were going out and talking to other people. Have you seen this crazy guy in the mountains? And Jesus' words ring true. When I return, Jesus says, it will be like in the time of Noah. People will be marrying and being given away in marriage. People will be doing this, and people will be working, and people will be busy with their lives. And before you know it, the storm will come. And for those of us who have learned how to love each other, for those of us who have learned to truly understand what love means, no matter the betrayal, no matter the denial, no matter the doubting, it doesn't matter. Because Jesus in his sphere, again, had 3 men that we know of. One doubted, one denied, and one betrayed. What makes us think that we're going to be any different? Sometimes it's our own spouses. Sometimes it's our own children. Sometimes it's the people that we know the best that will sink the dagger deepest because they know how to pat our backs. But the love of God knows no bounds. The love of God knows nothing compared to what this world has. The love of God knows nothing of this world because this world does not belong to God. Father Seraphim Rose, he says in this, I was listening to the podcast, I mentioned this last week, he says that if we Christians think that the kingdom of heaven is going to be established here on earth, we are sadly mistaken because it's not. We are aliens of this world. We are strangers of this world. And we need to learn how to love each other because the ark is being built. The flood is coming. The rain is coming. As we start to see more and more of the darkness and the evil and the pestilence and the sickness of sin coming into this world, we must realize that the flood is coming. And I want, God willing, that I am able to find a few people that will join me. Because there's nothing more important than our salvation. Nothing is more important. Not sickness, not our marriages, nothing is more important than our salvation. Because when that first drop of rain comes, I want to be safely inside the ark. And when Christ returns, and again, I don't know if it's going to be during my lifetime, but all I do know, as Metropolitan Gregory says quite often, today is one day closer to Christ's return than it was yesterday. Learn how to love as a mother does, but go beyond that. Learn how to love as Christ loves. Because if we learn how to love as Christ loves, we will learn how to love the Father. And if we love the Father, we will learn how to love more people. And when we learn to love more people, we will learn how to love God more. And we will learn how to love our spouses more. And we will learn how to love our children more. And we'll learn how to love our betrayers, our deniers, and our doubters. Today, let's remember these brave people that we celebrate. St. John is the only one that had the privilege of living to an old age. It's a privilege. But he had that privilege, and I guarantee you, he said to himself, I wish I would go home. But every day he woke up because he was in exile and he had to live one more day. But he had to go there because we have this warning called the book of Revelation. He had to live long enough to understand what God's love was so he could give us this warning system called Revelation. So let us glorify and praise the name of the Lord today and remember the brave people that had courage to stand up against the power of Rome in order to love God. Remember that Rome was compared to Babylon. We too are now living in Babylon. We too need to remember who we need to embrace and have the courage to go before the tomb. Because know that the stone has been rolled away, and know that the Lord our God has risen, and he is forever going to live forevermore. Amen.
Amen.